between this time, 1986 and 1984, the next 8 years, this is when he's on Wall Street and he's in the finance sector.
Hedge fund.
Yep. He started at Fitel in 1986, worked there for 2 years. This was his first job out of Princeton. And this was a fintech startup in New York. They were building this transatlantic computer network for stock traders. And he gained a lot of experience here just building technical systems. Just first, foray into the professional world. After that, he worked at Bankers Trust, joined Bankers Trust Company. This was also in New York, led development of computer systems, managing more than $250 billion in assets, became the youngest vice president in the company's history in February 1990 at age 26.
Yeah.
I don't know why my mind is thinking about Warren Buffett right now, but Warren Buffett around 26 was in a place where he was starting to see some real financial and professional success.
Yeah, I think they both hit big at 30 as well.
Yeah. And that's coming up right around here, but the 26 marker is really interesting just because they're both in professional careers, which again is different for a lot of other tech startups or tech founders that we see right now. Is that typically the story today is you go from early high school, you hit it lucky, and then you get funded and you just go.
Yeah.
And we're seeing a pattern of some of these really successful people getting into a professional world first, learning, and then growing from there. And so I think it's a mix. People have their own stories, people have their own trajectories.
Right.
But yes, in 1990, he goes to D.E. Shaw and Company. He was recruited by D.E. Shaw to join this quantitative hedge fund. This was one of the most sophisticatedly technical ones in Wall Street at the time.
At the time, yeah.
Rose to become the youngest senior vice president at age 28 in 1992. And he was tasked with exploring the internet business opportunities. And he discovered that the web usage was growing at 2,300% per year. This is also where he met his first wife, Mackenzie Tuttle, later Mackenzie Scott, and she was an aspiring novelist, worked as an administrative assistant. And her entry point is pretty interesting because she played an early role in the success of Amazon.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But that's also just another interesting thing is he saw this latest technology and he said, all right, I'm going to go and jump on it. To me, where I parallel that is AI and where we are right now with artificial intelligence and the impacts that it's having in the world.
There's a lot of founders out, even successful ones now, that saw that opportunity and are currently leveraging it.
I mean, I look at us right now as two that we're tasked with building the consumer AI products at a fintech company, and we saw the opportunity and said, hey, we have to go out here and explore this, do something, because it's going to have crazy changes now or never. And I think that we're seeing a lot of current numbers indicate that. But back to Bezos. So this decision was based around his regret minimization framework, and that's something that we've talked about on here before. Yeah. Where he saw a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
Yeah, 2,300? That's insane.
Yeah.
That's like some of these meme coins that are going up to
You're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Number go up.
Exactly.
Right? And his boss at the time was encouraging him to explore it and was supportive. He was just like, hey, pay attention to this. And so he said, all right, regret minimization. If I look back on this 80 years from now, am I going to look back and say, hey, I regret taking that chance and not succeeding? Or am I going to regret looking back and saying, I didn't take a chance at all, I didn't try? Right. And you find that a lot of people, especially later in life, regret not even trying.
Yes.
So he reasoned that, around that way, and he ultimately made the decision to go out here and start this new endeavor.
Yeah, it's a big jump, but he's also, with the context, he's not doing it out of high school. He's not doing it without a bunch of money in the bank, because he's a senior vice president at this point, approaching 30 years old. He does have a little bit of stability around him to go ahead and do this. I would say it's even more de-risked in that factor.
Yeah. So him and Mackenzie end up driving out west. They set up shop in Seattle just for a lot of logistical reasons. And a big reason was that they were close to a big book distributor, and this was going to be the underpinnings of Amazon, which was buying and selling books online, building a catalog that you just can't match as a physical retailer.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Maybe just to take a beat on that one.
Yeah,
Books being first was strategic, not a coincidence.
talk about it.
Like that was like there's a lot of strategy there. Books is the only item or the only I guess you'd call it section, like the only type of product where there's more items than any other product in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Books, even today, are being published on the order of magnitude of millions of books a year.
Mm-hmm.
And any physical bookstore is only going to have 20 or 30,000 books at any one time, right? Like you just can't physically have millions of books that are all coming out at the same time. A digital reference point, like a digital store, can do that. You can have 100 million titles and all be accessible, Dewey Decimal System, or whatever you want to do. And so it's strategic. He saw the fact that books outnumber all the other products in terms of the amount of items, the amount of SKUs you can have. And so yeah, this is a perfect example to digitize this, and that's why they started with books. It wasn't just like a random thing.
Yeah, and I've seen him say as much too.
Right.
Is that just the number just made sense. But he always talks about this, and we've also seen this with Dan Gilbert. Ideas are
easy,
and execution is worshipped.
Yeah.
That's the main thing. And so recognizing it was one thing, pulling it off was another thing. Parlaying it into what we see today was a whole other thing.
Right. So you want to get started on how we actually built this thing?
Yeah, so it started out as Cadabra Inc. I'm assuming because of abracadabra.
Right.
But then he heard somebody call it Cadabra Inc. and he was like, all right, I'm gonna change this. This isn't working. He also played around with the idea of Relentless being the name. And again, we see that with Relentless.com still being redirected to Amazon.com. But ultimately, they settled on Amazon, named after the river, for the size, and that was like the bettings of it.